What's been up, man?
Nothing, man. You know, Groundhog Day. More of the
Is it-
same.
Is it really
no,
Groundhog Day?
No, I'm just messing around. Just
Oh.
same shit.
It's
day.
actually tax day.
It is tax day today.
Like officially tax day. If you look
It
at
is.
at least the Apple calendar says tax day.
Yeah, my taxes are done though, so I'm good. No, man, we got a show on the 29th, so just practicing for that.
Cool. Sound tired?
Yeah, I'm a little tired, but I'm good.
Been working a lot?
Sorry. Yeah, just working the same as usual. Just feeling
Right on.
normal, you know. How about you, man? What's been up with you?
Working a lot. I've got a rehabilitation job right now.
What does that consist of? What do you mean rehabilitation?
Somebody rescued a dog, and it wasn't a good dog, so helping them with that. It was violent.
Has behavioral problems?
Yeah, major. It was violent. It was like attacking. It was scary.
Attacking
Basically.
humans or
Yeah.
other dogs? Oh shit!
It was pretty good with other dogs. It jumped the fence and chased people when they walked by with their dog. So we did some invisible fence stuff. But the first couple sessions was there, and I showed them how to correct her, and they did that in the weeks following. And I went once a week. And then she's good now, but she needs obedience training. So now she's ready for me to take her here. And I've been pack walking her every day, every morning with my walks for like 2.5 hours. So she's getting rehabilitation with other dogs. And then just basic stuff around the house because she doesn't have trust. She lacks trust and she's fearful. And that's one of the hardest things to deal with is getting a dog to understand that everything is okay and how to move the dog around, basically. How to get it to follow you around the yard. Making it normal, basically.
Dylan
Coming
the
along.
dog whisperer.
Just coming along. That's going into week 2. I'm doing 2 weeks. First week went good. And yeah. It's pretty awesome.
That's awesome.
I've literally been watching The Dog Whisperer.
Is it a bigger breed dog?
Yeah, it's like an Anatolian Shepherd mix. Not Anatolian. They got the DNA. She's like a mastiff. Do you want to see a picture of it?
Yeah, I was about to say Anatolian. That's we're gonna be talking about that area of the world again.
Oh
today.
wow, dude! Fucking awesome! What a plug that was. So I'm gonna screen share this. But I've been watching The Dog Whisperer. I bought season 1. I watched it. I bought season 2, and I'm watching it and. Every day when I come home and at night, I watch it and I'm.
Who's the dog whisperer? That dude, Caesar
Milan. Yes, a lot of people are like, "Oh, this," and they're so dumb. Like what he does is amazing, dude. And if it wasn't for that show, I wouldn't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Oh damn! So you just follow his process and techniques.
Yeah, 1000%. Religiously on the walks in the house, everything. That's why I'm watching it because every episode it's like the dog is the same, but the specific way to go about it is a little different.
Hey, are you using your microphone or are you using your camera mic?
Oh fuck, dude! This whole time?
I'm not sure. I think so.
No way.
Pretty sure though.
Oh fuck.
It's all good. I mean,
it's not all good.
Terrible.
It's not all good, man. That was good stuff to talk about.
It's all right. We'll keep it.
Oh, I'm such a fucking fuck. I had my interface off.
Should we start over?
I don't want to repeat all that shit. It won't feel natural.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, the
dog sound a million times better.
Yeah, thanks, man. The dog's coming around and it's fucking awesome. Caesar Milan's legit. Period. He's fucking awesome, dude. My favorite part is when he has to get through to the family, because first he gets there and he sits and he meets with the family before he even meets the dog, and he talks to them. and their worlds crumble every episode because it's not about the dog. It's about you. So when he shows up and they're talking about all these issues, he has to get through to the person. You're believing in a fairy tale and you're showing weakness. And they come to understand how they've been wrong this whole time. And it's fucking amazing, dude. And some people don't get it. And he said, I'm quicker to give up on my clients than I am the dog. I was like, whoa, like Damn. He gives up on people because it comes from the person, your dog's behavior, period. And he shows like in the first couple minutes.
He's not like living with them for months on end. So like ultimately you have to change the behavior of the owner to get the dog to change its behavior because I'm sure it's like consistency over time.
Well, for the dog to learn to behave well on its own over time, yeah, because you're rewiring the brain. But he gets results right away. He then shows the owner and he works with the owner and he's controlling their posture and fixing them and like breaking through to him. He told one guy who's like, you might be fooling the dog, but you're not fooling me. Like, I need a stronger energy right now. You have to find your inner power. You're too weak. You're the submissive one here. And the guys it's like insane, dude. Every episode, people's worlds just crumble. But he's so good at that. Like, that's the big thing about dog rehab. You know, because I can get results. Yeah. All the dogs I walk, I get results. It's transferring it to the owners and having them pick it up. And they don't implement the right things the other 21 hours of the day. So over time, they see limited results. But dude, watch that show again, man. I know you've seen it, but like go back and watch it again.
I haven't seen it. Actually,
you've never seen it? Oh,
never.
Bro. Dude, come on, man. Whoa, bro.
Whoa,
bro.
Sorry, man.
It's fucking awesome.
All right, I guess I'll have to invest some time in the dog whisperer.
So it's my favorite part when people's worlds crumble. This one lady was like, but I got him
the world crusher.
She was like, but I got him a whole yard and all the toys and like I make these pillows with his name on it. Like, what more does he want? And Caesar, you can see the look on his face. Like, wow, he's amazed, but he's so good at it. And then he's like, your dog doesn't care. And then he explains what it is the dog needs. And he's like, you're actually being selfish. You're only thinking about you. That's human thing.
Yeah, human things that you think are going to be comforting to the dog.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude. It's awesome.
Well, I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, dude, I could talk about it all day, but it's fucking awesome.
We'll have an episode on the dog whisperer.
The dog whisperer for like 9 seasons, and then he did Caesar 911.
Was it on Netflix?
Yeah, and the seasons are limited. He keeps his stuff behind paywalls. He doesn't seem to play the sellout game too much. I mean, he's got a mainstream show, but
sellout game. What's a sellout game? Like having a show on the big networks?
At some point,
like ABC, NBC, CBS.
I think at some point, real people get fed up with dumb fucks intervening in what makes the show good in the first place. So you start getting into scripts and all this shit. And just from what I sense,
being overproduced.
Yeah, because he didn't go up. He went laterally more independently and did shows that seem more like what he wants to do.
Yeah.
That's just what I sense. So it's like, depending on what era of Caesar you watch.
Well, that's what people crave nowadays. Like, no one likes that overproduced shit anymore.
Yeah. But yeah, go watch Dog Whisperer, man. And then try it. Then try it. Like, go to a friend's house that's got a bad dog. Go hang out and bring a leash and like try it.
I can't think of any friends that have bad dogs to try that on.
Just next time you're somewhere with the bad dog, be like, I'm going to go try the thing. See if it works.
Oh yeah, I've seen that thing. I've seen that thing before.
Yeah.
Yeah. You might get slapped up by a stranger doing that on their dog in public.
Go to a dog park. Take Belle to a dog park. They'll have some dogs. Yeah. But it's awesome. It seems so simple, but it's like audio engineering or like conspiracies or like whatever, because the second you open up the box,
It's deep.
Yeah, it's so deep and so simple.
No, I get it.
And like, well, you gotta retrack information to pick up what you missed. And it's like, how did I fucking miss that? Of course, I'm still doing stuff wrong every day, and I'm like, fuck, I just did that thing again. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's probably exponentially interesting for you since it's your job too.
It is, dude. It's fucking Caesar's the man.
Let's interview him on the podcast.
Oh, did I show you the fucking picture of the dog? Like 10 minutes ago, I loaded up a picture. We're still talking about fucking dogs.
Because I stopped you because of your mic.
It's this dog. She's like 11 months old.
Oh,
you can see that, right?
Yeah, the white one.
Yeah. No. That's the lab. This is her.
Oh, okay.
To the right, that shepherd-looking dog. That's this is Bowie. He doesn't have depth perception.
He's always running into shit.
Yeah. I jogged back to my car because I forgot my water right before we were like leaving the area, and it was like the first day I walked him, and I didn't stop him, so he just went right into my bumper. It's like, oh, buddy, I'm sorry.
That's pretty funny though, honestly.
Yeah. But yeah.
Well, yeah, that's awesome. I mean, it seems, like you said, it sounds all encompassing to rehab a dog like that.
Yeah, man. It's super awesome. I also made the worst chai tea in the world. I've been trying to make chai tea. And not easy, man. Not easy.
Yeah, you talked about that last episode.
Yeah. So I finally looked up a recipe just now because I fucked it up. I was doing it way wrong. Wrong. You got to boil the water with the different seasonings for a while, and then you add milk and you boil that for a while. A lot of milk, like 6-to-1 ratio. 1 cup water, 6-to-1. Yeah. So
you I've been just pot.
I've been doing half and half, like half a cup of black tea. Yeah. So I can see how people boil it for like an hour because there's phases, and then at the end you add the tea to the milk boiling.
So you just boil water and spices,
and then dump a shit ton of milk.
Then dump a shit ton of milk, and boil that for a while, and then boil the tea. Like
then you steep the tea
leaves, steep the tea in it.
I was putting the tea in the water initially, then I was adding milk, and then just pouring it in the glass. Yeah, like half.
It was like super strong.
No, there's no flavor. It's like water. Milk alone has more flavor than this.
Damn, that's terrible.
Yeah, it sucks. So I don't want to waste it though.
Yeah, it sucks. It still has caffeine in it.
A little bit. I've been on a chai kick though. All right, well, let's get into this, man.
Yeah, man, for sure. So we are on chapter 3 of Denisovan Origins, and chapter 3 is the cult. We're getting, away from Pillar 43 and the imagery that we talked about last week. And now we're talking about the cult of the skull and some of the evidence they found of skull cults in Gobekle Tepe and surrounding areas, and what the meanings of that are, along with some, evidence found with debris found at Gobekle Tepe of these skull cults, and some further details on how the shamans may have used the cosmos to tell the story of how the soul entered into the celestial realm. Pretty much it, huh?
Do you see that? Yeah, that is pretty much it.
Do I see what?
I changed the immersive view, and it's both of us in this ski
I see
lift
that.
now. Oh, right. Fucking awesome. I was paying attention to you as well.
You get to dive in first.
Oh, all right. So they found 3 skull fragments at Gobekle Tepe, and they showed signs of being altered, which implies the skull cult to begin with. It's the earliest form discovered, like it dates back the oldest, but the first one they actually discovered was in Kainu, 40 kilometers northwest, and that dated to 8630 to 6820. And I have
a long ass time ago still.
Yeah, and I have bookmarks to show images on this once I finish.
Fuck yeah.
One fragment has a vertical groove from front to back from Gobekle Tepe, the skull cult altered ones. Another fragment has a hole bored through it, one of two holes, which allowed it to be hung with the cord. And the third fragment has undeniable fleshing marks.
Defleshing marks.
Defleshing marks. So like scraping, basically. And the ones in Kainu didn't have this. It was just removed from
more
the
primitive.
body.
They just pulled the heads off the bodies post-mortem.
Yeah, let me share. Nice little picture of a rock. I guess that's a skull from Gobekle Tepe.
Yeah. That's the one with the the rift in the middle of it.
Artificially modified ancient human crania discovered in 11,000-year-old historical site of Gobekle Tepe in Turkey's southeastern Sanliurfa province has shed light on a Neolithic skull cult.
They also found skulls at the site of Jericho.
Yeah, there's like the skull cult resembles Jericho more than.
And those were from around 7,000 to 6,000 BCE. They had actually been covered with plaster and bore eyes made of cowrie shells.
Yeah, they were doing weird stuff covering that at Jericho, covering the eyes with stuff. Dude, look at this on this article. In one of the skulls, researchers also discovered a drilled perforation. Drilled. We'll get into it later in this book about the bracelet found in the Russian cave of the Denisovans and how there's like scientifically proven high-speed drill marks, but interesting right there.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Deadheads.
Considering that it's before that technology was around.
How do you think they would have gotten electricity or power for a high-speed drill?
Man, I don't know. Obviously not in the form of like burning, I guess, like fossil fuels and shit like that to generate electricity. So I don't know. Like we'd have usually combustion is how we start that whole process of anything with generating electricity, utilizing some form of fuel. So I don't know. I'm not smart enough to think of alternative forms of ways of generating electricity. How do you think they would have done it?
My first thought, and this isn't grounded in science, but the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, which we need to do an episode on that. It's a wild read. You familiar with that? I've talked about it before. Let me screen share. I have pictures of Kainu also that we just talked about before I get ahead to Thoth, but this is where they found just the disembodied skull, no alterations.
And this is what, like you said, 40 kilometers west?
Northwest. Kilometers northwest of 40 kilometers northwest of southeastern Turkey's administrative capital city of Diyarbakir.
Let's take a trip to Turkey, dude.
Bro. Yeah. We need to go on tour.
In Turkey.
Dude, that logo behind you is freaking cool. That's cool. Should we make that the podcast logo? Podcast JPEG?
Yeah, I like this one. It's pretty cool.
It's pretty sweet. It's super fucking cool. I mean, the white and the purple is cool too. They're all cool, man. Shit. Anyway, this is a pretty
Whatever,
place.
We'll change it every week. Fuck it.
Yeah. Dude, look at
like
this.
The caves and the mountainside.
Is this like a sphinx? Did they try to make a sphinx right here? What is this?
I can't tell.
Kind of, is it small on?
Oh yeah, wow. Now I see that. Yeah, that does look like a sphinx.
You know
what the
what I mean?
fuck is that?
Does that look better?
What is that?
Yeah. This is rocks. Yeah. 12 best history Turkey Kayanu images on Pinterest. I don't know.
That definitely looks like it was manipulated by man. What the fuck is that?
It is associated with the Caillou site. I'm doing the lesser known sites in the same area as GT. Yeah, dude, that's crazy. Also, it's a quote from somebody. I came across a reference to a photograph of a sphinx in that region too. Statuesque, I think, but in the style of Egypt nonetheless. As we know, Tau was important in ancient Egypt. Wow.
Whoa.
Interesting.
I'd like to look more into that.
Yeah.
Well, that's wild.
Yeah.
So that's at the site, just a few kilometers northwest of Gobekle Tepe.
Yeah. And I was going to, now that we did that, and now I'm going to show you the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Just real quick. So it's this. It's basically like an ancient tablet.
Yeah, I can't tell what the fuck this is from that picture. You'll have to describe it to me.
You can't see that?
Yeah, I can see it. I see it's a tablet, an ancient tablet. Like, what is that tablet? What's that writing on it?
I always get confused because Thoth is also considered Hermes in Greek, but he was an Atlantean. He was supposedly the god of wisdom and science and all of this. And I think the tablet is actually real.
So they found this tablet somewhere.
Yeah. So like the first paragraph, I, Thoth, the Atlantean, master of mysteries, keeper of records, mighty king, magician, living from generation to generations, being about to pass into the halls of Amenti, set down for the guidance of those that are to come after, these records of the mighty wisdom of great Atlantis. So he's like the original god. In the great city of Kior on the island of Undal, in a time far past, I began this incarnation. Not as the little men of the present age did, the mighty ones of Atlantis live and die, but rather from aeon to aeon did they renew their life in the halls of Amenti, where the river of life flows eternally. So it gets weird. Now for a time I descend, and the men of Kim is alchemy in ancient Egypt, shall know me no more. But he talks about, back to the question about how would they have power to drill the hole. In the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, he talks about how he had a device, like a three-pronged thing that could emit a vibration and drive an enemy back or carry or make a heavy object seem weightless, the way he described it in here. So that's what I think of, is like maybe they just knew how to harness some kind of.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like I don't have much research on the Emerald Tablet of Thoth.
Me neither. I've been keeping them in my back pocket for when we deep dive, but I've looked into it a little bit, and I think it's pretty reliable.
From a scientific standpoint, I have no idea how ancient cultures would have generated electricity to power a high-powered drill to drill these, or to make these drill marks in skulls from these ancient sites.
Oh, here it is. Well, I think Thoth and the technology passed on from Gobekle Tepe. Fucking some people, they fucking knew how to do shit. So he says here, fast we fled toward the sun of the morning, until beneath us lay the land of the children of Kim. Raging, they came with cudgels and spears, lifted in anger, seeking to slay and utterly destroy the sons of Atlantis. Then raised I my staff and directed a ray of vibration, striking them still in their tracks as fragments of stone of the mountain. Then I spoke to them in words calm and peaceful, telling them of the might of Atlantis, saying we were children of the sun and its messengers. And then you get into the Egyptian, the oldest
Magic
stuff, which is all about worshiping the sun. Cowed I then by my display of my magic science. Yeah, until at my feet they groveled when I released them. So, yeah. Staff.
Where did he find this tablet? I gotta look into this more.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if this is some like crazy crackpot bullshit from some dark corner of the internet or
no, Thoth is
like this is some real.
Thoth is a real part of mythology going way back.
Yes. But I'm talking about the Emerald Tablet of Thoth.
Yeah.
Where do they find that at?
It was the cave where young Belinus discovered them 300 years later. The story of the Emerald Tablet reads like the syllabus for ancient civilization. No one knows what became of the original tablet. What remains are translations and translations of translations, along with the historic timeline punctuated with disconnects and gaps. The tablet appears and disappears across the ancient world before and after like the birth of Christ.
This is like some Ark of the Covenant shit.
Author of the classic Emerald Tablet wrote, one of the most mysterious documents ever put before the eyes of man, the Emerald Tablet has been described as everything from a succinct memory of Neoplatonic philosophy to an extraterrestrial artifact or a gift from Atlantis. So, Belinus, Hermes Trismegistus, and Apollonius of Tyana. The contemporary of the historical Abraham of the Old Testament was Hermes Trismegistus, aka Apollonius of Tyana. Was said to have traveled throughout Egypt, Greece, and Mesopotamia. He was associated with Thoth, the Egyptian god of wisdom, writing, magic, and the sciences, patron god of the sacred scribes. Thoth's name and qualities were synonymous with the Greek god Hermes. So, yeah, there's a lot of strange stuff there. Born in 16 CE in Anatolia, now Turkey, Belinus. Dude, we should look into this soon.
That's the Greek philosopher. Anyway. Yeah, we should look into that.
So they found more. Yeah, that's crazy, right? That's what I think of. Some weird Thoth-like technology. But he also said that, like, something about a cavity under the Sphinx or the pyramids has more scrolls and books of ancient science and how they designed and who built the pyramid. So there's this whole other search for that. And yeah, they also found at Gobekle Tepe and another pre-pottery and Neolithic site named Navali Kori relief art depicting human heads and lifelike stone carvings. So now we get into all those different areas in the whole part of the Middle East around Gobekle Tepe that have that same symbology we talked about with the head and the body and the vulture.
Yeah, the vulture. So they say that skulls were very often shown in association with vultures, which were the primary symbols of death and rebirth in Anatolia and the Near East during the early Neolithic age. At the Neolithic urban center of Çatalhöyük in southern central Anatolia, which thrived 7,000 to 5,500 BCE, they have painted frescoes depicting vultures protecting abstract human heads, shown as balls with eyes and a mouth. Here, the excavations have found human skulls set aside for use in ritualistic practices. What are you showing here?
I'm screen sharing images of Navali Kori, which appear to be what you described, also found at Çatalhöyük. I'm just showing images of the places you were just reading about. This is Çatalhöyük, where they found human heads shown as balls with eyes and a mouth.
I would love to visit like these places. Look how interesting that shit is.
I know, man. I wonder what it feels like.
Just like the most ancient places on Earth.
Turkey's where I want to go. Anatolia. Yeah. The country that
The Levant.
I met a guy who's from Turkey at this show that I played, and he told me you should go to, and he said the name, but it's basically where Gobekle Tepe is, the country. But anyway, yeah, Turkey, man, that's where I want to go. I've always liked that name too, Turkey, in a weird way, because it's dry like a turkey. Turkey. Dude, yeah. For real. Let's go to Turkey, man.
All right, I'm down.
Oh, hey, I'm coming to Louisiana next week. I never told you.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
That came out of nowheres.
Well, we were just talking about going to Turkey, but I'm actually going. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, we'll have to hang out.
Kept forgetting to tell you, and that's what triggered me to tell you. So
Jesus Christ.
I had to tell you.
For family?
Yeah, and Festival International, man. I didn't know that, but it's the same week, so that's perfect timing. Crawfish.
Are you going to be here on the 29th?
Yeah.
I got a show. You want to come to the show?
Fuck yeah, dude. That's awesome.
At the green room.
At the green room?
Yeah.
Okay, that's an excuse.
We're the only band playing for an hour.
Oh, nice. That's awesome, dude. Fuck yeah. That's going to be awesome.
Saturday night. Yeah.
That's going to be a crushing loud show.
Yeah, we played there once before, and it was hands down we've all talked about it. It's one of our favorite shows. It's just wild. And not even that it sounded the best. It was just so fucking insane.
One of those shows.
It was just nuts. The energy was crazy. So we're looking forward to it. It's going to be festival.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
Playing a full hour. Yeah, it's going to be cool.
Man, that's a good spot. What's that, Friday downtown during Festival International?
Yep, Saturday night, downtown Festival International.
Bro, that's huge, man. That's big.
Only bad part is, for whatever reason, they wanted us to start at 1 a.m. originally, but they moved it up to 12:30. And they're not doing it to just us. So there's one band playing Thursday night. I'm friends with one of the guys in the band, Jester. There's one band playing Friday night, and we're playing Saturday night. So they're doing one band a night, and they forced all the bands to do this like 12:30 slot for whatever reason. It's weird.
So it's late.
Late sucks.
Yeah, but it's still
people will be out. I mean, it's Festival International. People will still be out.
Yeah,
nuts.
Yeah. Like, it's still cool to book that show.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
to have enough reputation that the club gives you Saturday during that. That's cool. That's what's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. I'm excited.
That's what's cool.
So, yeah, man. Well, I'll be happy to see you, and I'll get you in that show.
Fuck
sure
yeah.
There's a guest list. Whatever, I'll get you in for free. If not, I'll pay. Fuck it.
Yeah, Ford's gonna be with me too.
I'll get you in for it in.
Bro, that's awesome.
Fuck yeah, bro.
I can't wait. That's perfect.
I'm excited now.
Everything's working out perfectly.
Hell yeah, dude.
I'm trying to find that country he was talking about. I guess it's not that important.
I thought Gobekle Tepe is in Turkey. Speaking of Gobekle Tepe, they found fragments of totem poles that show vultures in association with human heads. While on a T-shaped pillar 57, in the newly uncovered enclosure H, a ball-like object that is almost certainly a skull is shown flanked by two snakes. In addition to this, a large fragment of stone displaying a carved relief found deliberately positioned on the north side of the pillar 18 in enclosure D shows a disembodied human head immediately above a vulture with open wings. Do you have that picture pulled up?
No.
Let me pull a couple of these up in there's a good Martin Sweatman site with all these images.
It starts to get a little complicated here in the next in the next section. Sorry, Cygnus alignments, talking about those porthole stones that face, like, whenever they start describing specific attributes of a physical site, and you have to use.
No, we just got to like pretty much get describe the gist of what it means. Anyone could go look up the porthole stones at Gobekle Tepe and see.
Bro, I looked it up. I didn't see it. I couldn't find it. Did you find porthole stones pictures? I was searching. I couldn't find all that. Dude, share that. I was searching up porthole stones, Gobekle Tepe, enclosure D. I found nothing. What the frick, dude?
Hold on, I'm getting it all pulled up. I did all that on my iPad, and I don't have that in front of me right now.
That's all right.
Terrible.
On the north side of enclosure D's pillar 18, they found a large fragment of stone showing a disembodied head of a vulture with open wings. Did we look at that on the previous episode?
No, that's a fragment. So that's actually in the book. You could share that, and that'll come up on the book. That's like on the next page. Sharing your screen.
I'm about to. I got the image.
I'm getting those others pulled up.
It was hard for me to make anything out in this picture, if I'm being honest, because it's describing this as a human head flanked by snakes on Pillar 57.
No, that's not the snake by Pillar 57. This is the vulture. This is the fragment with the vulture and the human head floating at the top of it.
Here's the vulture circle right here, right?
Yeah.
And then here's the head.
Yep.
Right. So all over the Levant, in some form or another, all these ancient sites show human heads, skulls, vultures. But in a way that it kind of evolved over time. Like it was different when it got to the next site. Thousands of years later, 2,000 years, 3,000 years later. That's what it seems like to me.
All right. I'm getting pillar 18 pulled up, which is where we have the head flanked by two snakes.
Yeah, I want to see that. I want to see these porthole stones too, because that's the cool shit, but we're not there yet.
Well, they talk about how the porthole stones kind of function like the false doors do found in the pyramids in Egypt, where there are these false doors that don't really lead to anywhere, where the souls pass through on their journey into the underworld or the afterlife. And these portholes function similarly. And we'll get into this where basically their positioning within Gobekle Tepe are in alignment with where the star, I think the star Deneb, rises each night as part of the the Milky Way. Whenever it's rising into the sky, those portholes are positioned perfectly to align with where that star would rise along the horizon in between the two pillars in enclosure D. But the portholes themselves don't actually, you wouldn't actually be able to see the stars through them. So what they're saying is the rubble is blocking the view of those stars. But with the positioning of where they're at, it's positioned perfectly to align with where those stars would have risen on the date when Gobekle Tepe was built.
Like a symbolic gesture of a connection between the path that the soul is going to take at that time.
Exactly. We'll get into that.
And you found pictures of that. You really did.
I just Googled portholes Gobekle Tepe, and they show you the fall. You'll see like the circles in the that they found, and you'll see the portholes.
Okay. So all of these similar characteristics of these sites build the case that the ball on Pillar 43, which we discussed in our previous episode, that ball should be associated with the head and the skull cult instead of the sun passing through the constellation of Sagittarius. Because apparently that's the two different arguments. That ball is the sun passing through the constellation of Sagittarius, which would be the bird. And I think that's what Martin Sweatman proposes, right?
Because Martin Sweatman proposes the sun, whereas
this book is proposing
it's the celestial North Pole.
Then maybe it's both, because they kind of line up. Maybe not.
I'm not smart enough to really make that argument. Just positioning both.
The other vultures, where are your pictures at?
I'm trying. I'm having trouble. My bad.
I'm going to share the next section because this is my favorite part. This is my favorite fucking part. Psychopomps.
Oh, yeah.
The other vultures supporting the body of the human head on Pillar 43. Because there's two vultures, one close and then one kind of mirrored on the other side, a little smaller. That vulture. Oh, there's three. There's one at the bottom.
The one at the bottom where the headless man is standing on is the psychopomp.
Yeah. I guess I could be sharing a picture of Pillar 43. It's actually this right here. Boom. So this vulture is the main one escorting the ball. This is the mirrored one. And then down here, it's not showing it, but there's
the headless man.
Yeah, there's a body.
Erect penis, and he's standing on the neck of it like what looks like a goose to me.
I have it here. Actually, I don't. So the Greek Hellenic term psychopomp means soul carrier or soul accompanier, because that vulture at the bottom of Pillar 43 carrying the body is carrying the soul or accompanying the soul. So they believe that to be a psychopomp. It's a zoomorphic creature that was thought to accompany the soul on its dangerous journey into the afterlife. And if that is the case, then the large vulture represents some type of celestial being that receives the soul before it passes into the afterlife via the northern celestial pole or hole in the sky. So I'm going to take a second to bring up that picture and fucking look at it.
I have also Pillar 57 with the head with the snakes flanking it in the portholes whenever we're ready for that.
Okay, I got the picture right here. Can you see that picture?
Yep. At the very bottom underneath the scorpion, you'll see the goose and then the headless man.
Yeah, that is the body that's the soul being accompanied by the psychopomp
into the afterlife. And then what I think is dope, and then we'll get into this, is like how this could be depicting the soul making its travels in through the dark rift into the afterlife through the celestial pole. Like if you take what these symbols could mean in terms of constellations and then align it in the sky with where, you know, a soul would have to pass up through the Milky Way galaxy into the, I don't know, it's just dope. We'll get into it.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
You're good. So that ball up there represents the soul being received by this bird, but also represents the northern celestial sphere where the soul passes through before it gets to that Cygnus. Because the soul goes through the northern celestial sphere, then it goes to the constellation Cygnus. That's what they thought. And I think that's what's happening here. It's being escorted through the celestial sphere, then to Cygnus. And this is it rising on the other end of the earth. Boom. And then the scorpion represents some bad shit too.
Or it could represent Scorpius, which is at the very bottom of below the Great Rift in the Milky Way galaxy.
Let's get into that.
Well, I think we skipped ahead a couple parts, right? So we need to talk about Cygnus alignments. So I guess I'll just read from the book on this part just to kind of cover what we're talking about.
Or you're thinking what I'm thinking because I just have it highlighted and I was going to do the same damn thing. Fucking awesome.
So the author goes, you know, that he presented elsewhere some evidence that Gobekle Tepe's oldest and most accomplished installations, enclosures B, C, D, and H are aligned north-northwest toward the setting of the Cygnus star Deneb, a theory that independently confirmed in a study of the site's astronomical alignments by Italian academics Alessandro de Lorenzis and Vincenzo Parafino of the University of Salento. These alignments towards Cygnus are further confirmed by positioning of porthole stones in the north-northwest sections of the ring walls of enclosure C, D, and H. Each one is aligned so that the setting of Deneb on the local horizon would have been visible through its aperture as viewed from the installation's twin central pillars, thus providing a direct link between the stars of Cygnus and the spirit of the shaman or deceased person. And then he goes on that having said this, rubble seen today behind these porthole stones would have blocked any view of the local horizon. It is therefore possible that the porthole stone's alignment toward Deneb was symbolic alone in that it functioned practically only as part of an original foundation ceremony when the setting of the bright star would have been clearly visible above the horizon. So maybe just used once and then rubble covered it up after that. Kind of what he's hypothesizing there.
Do you have pictures of that yet?
Yeah. So let me share.
Go ahead and share that. This is the one thing I've been dying to see. I can't believe you found pictures. What search engine did you use, bro?
Google.
Damn, I'm using Brave. They got to get with it.
That's one porthole stone.
That does not look like what I thought it would look like.
There's more, though. Let's see. This was another one. What the fuck? Yeah, this one.
Oh, so it's kind of like a big rectangle.
Yeah. But the alignment of it would have aligned with like between the twin central pillars in that enclosure where Deneb would have passed.
It looks like there's constellations around that hole too, because they have that dog on the left side. What do you think that one is on the top above?
I have no fucking clue. What do you think it is?
It looks like a big spider's face. Maybe it's nothing. It's
or
not
a crab.
There's a dog on the right side too. There's two dogs flanking it.
Yeah. So the dog could be Lupus, but
yeah,
not on both sides.
Interesting.
So yeah, porthole stones.
Honestly,
another one.
Oh, go back to that picture just now, that aerial illustration. Oh, look at that. Yeah, there we go. Look at that. Vulture Stone 43. The twin central monoliths are 31 and 18, right?
Yes.
And so standing through that whole hold sighting stone, looking through that stone, it lines up with Deneb. Interesting.
Wow, shit.
Interesting. How do they make sense of any of that?
I don't know.
Because whenever I see
smarter than me.
Yeah, whenever I see the picture, it doesn't look like there's any method to the madness. It just looks like rubble.
Right. That's what I think.
When they describe it in the book, it seems like
oh, it starts clicking. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
But like before I saw the picture, reading the book, I'm thinking this very sophisticated, like that hole you showed. Go to the next picture with the hole.
This one.
Yeah. The one that I made you back. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's what I was imagining first, like a hole like that. But that big rectangle thing didn't make sense. Interesting. They had a lot of time on their hands to be fucking around building this shit.
No shit. I mean, what else would you be doing back then? What else would you be doing back in 10,700 or 9,600 BCE?
Dude, trying to survive, like building a better, trying to kill more animals so I had more leather to make a better shelter.
Well, they talk about that in the next chapter. We'll get into that.
Okay, let's do it. The Dark Rift.
Well, that's this chapter, but yes, the Dark Rift. So they goes on about the porthole stones. Let's see. I want to make sure we're not skipping nothing kind of
the false doors in the Middle East. Read the next part about false doors in the Middle East while I share pictures.
What?
Very likely, Gobekle Tepe's porthole stones functioned in a manner similar to the carved false doors seen in ancient Egyptian tombs.
Oh, yeah.
These false doors enabled the spirit of the deceased to travel to and from the deceased's place of interment. False doors were usually located in the east toward the direction that the spirit emerged into new life on the eastern horizon. Let's break that sentence down. False doors were usually located in the east, mean facing east, right?
Right.
Okay, toward the direction that the spirit emerged into new life. So the spirit, if you're facing the door, the spirit is going away into new life on the eastern
horizon.
Or is it because emerging seemed, it's coming to me?
No, going away.
Well, if you emerge from the water, you're coming out of the water. If you emerge from the clouds, you're coming out. So if you emerge from a door, right? So it just
the way I view this is the way it's being described is if you were standing in front of that false door facing east, you would observe the spirit emerging into its new life on the eastern horizon.
Okay, so I guess into gives you the direction it's emerging. Just that way. Not from, into new life on the eastern horizon.
Right.
Right. And that represents, let me go back to Pillar 43. Keep that in mind about the spirit emerging. Screen share, books, share. So this vulture is the vulture that's being born again on the eastern horizon. Not eastern horizon. Yeah. On the other side, it comes back like in the yearly cycle or whatever, comes back up over the horizon. It reaches its peak at the meridian, and then it sets on the front. And that's what this bird is doing, is setting. So they're kind of encompassing that religious concept by showing this vulture, the concept of new life emerging on that eastern horizon. Feel what I'm saying?
Yeah, I feel what you're saying. Is it oriented that way? Like, is it actually
this on this?
Is that
on this pillar?
Actually, yeah. Is that vulture actually facing the east?
Yeah. Well, we talked about it last episode because this line represents the horizon, and the scorpion is below the horizon, representing the underworld.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
And then if you connect from the ball to the head, there's a straight line, which implies the center meridian. So the west and the east. So relative to that meridian, if this is still the sun representing the northern celestial sphere, then that's how this constellation would look as it rises and then goes through its yearly cycle and sets here.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. So that idea of the being rebirthed in the east is shown here with that vulture.
The mirrored vulture.
Yeah, as well as whatever it was we were just talking about.
I want to read the last part of this right before the Great Rift, and then we're gonna pause so I can go feed baby real quick.
Okay.
But this just kind of sets up like why we're gonna talk about the Great Rift in the first place at all.
Oh wait, did you see these pictures though? You see these cute pictures of all the doors in the Middle East? Here's a good one. Can you see that? I'm trying to make it bigger. Yeah, I just wanted to show a few of them. Well, that looks like one.
Creepy.
Yeah, dude. I want to go see all these places.
It's creepy.
We're basically showing pictures of, dude, they had fluorescent lights back thousands of years ago when they built this, and no one's talking about it.
No one knows how they're powered. Except for
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Thousands of years before Home Depot, and they had all of the settings to replace a bulb. Look at this, dude. Dude, what were people doing thousands of years ago to make stuff like this? This is crazy. This is so crazy.
So the last part of this little section goes over. It says enclosure D's porthole stone is located just a few meters east of the Vulture Stone, which is pillar 43, precisely in line with the installation's twin central monoliths. What's more is the deliberate positioning between the twin central monoliths and pillar 43 of the stone slab with the relief of a human head above the open wings of a vulture only further emphasizes the importance of the north in connection with the soul's journey to the next world. At Katahoyuk, various cult buildings, as well as many domestic dwellings, displayed directional orientations whereby the north was considered the point of interface between this world and the next, and the south being reserved for domestic activities and storage of human refuse. Thus, that the porthole stones and the enclosures at Gobekle Tepe were aligned northwest towards Cygnus and not due north toward the northern celestial pole in its role as the hole in the sky, implies that upon exiting the enclosure, the soul was expected to travel first to the realm of Cygnus, the celestial vulture, before continuing his journey to the afterlife. So why might that have been? And we're going to get into that in just a second. We're going to take a break. I'm going to go and feed baby girl real quick. I'll be right back, dude.
And I got sweet ass pictures. So
sweet.
Yeah.
Pause.
All right. So to recap all that great riff shit, basically, it confused me because it gets pretty deep because you start talking about, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Because I'll screen share this with you because I start talking about all the different constellations that are in different positions throughout the year relative to the dark rift. And I got some pictures. So let's just start with the basic shit. Look at that. Main dark nebula of the solar apex, half of the galactic plane, with Cygnus and Aquila rifts of the Great Rift at the center right. Center right. So here's Deneb.
Deneb.
I don't know what I'm looking at here, man. I'm kind of just faking it till I make it. They misspelled Cygnus. What are these clouds that they're showing? Oh, these are star clouds, right? Okay, what is this? So this is, what the fuck is this? That's a crazy picture.
I won't pretend like I know what I'm looking at either, but I had other sources that made me make it a little bit easier.
So here's a decent picture of the. Oh, I see. So those clouds are just the fucking, I don't know, dude. And here's some better pictures. The summer triangle, Deneb, Vega, and Altair. Here's a good picture. Because this is really relative to the Gobekle Tepe. Can you recap what you just said about the Great Rift? What you just read about it?
While we're I hadn't gotten to the Great Rift yet. So we
Oh, really?
There. Yeah.
Oh, fuck. All right. I thought you were. That's why I couldn't find where you were earlier.
No. So the Dark Rift. So Cygnus is positioned very prominently within the Milky Way, which is the starry stream forming the outer edge of our disk-like galaxy. This pathway of stars was anciently seen as a river or a road that permitted the soul access to the sky world. So Cygnus itself is located exactly where the Milky Way bifurcates or splits into two separate branches due to the presence of dust and debris directly in line with the galactic plane. This area is known as the Dark Rift, the Great Rift, or the Cygnus Rift, and it begins in the vicinity of the star of Deneb and continues all the way down to the vicinity of the stars of Sagittarius. Here, one arm expands to form a bridge with the southern extension of the Milky Way, while the other ends immediately above the stars of the Scorpius constellation. So the Dark Rift has long been recognized as a route of access to the sky world, reached via Cygnus in its role as a soul bird. Birds such as swans, geese, eagles, and vultures are primary symbols of the soul's journey to and from the afterlife. It's likely, therefore, that the pre-pottery Neolithic peoples of Anatolia and the Near East viewed the Dark Rift in a similar manner, seeing it as a darkened road to the sky world. The fact that the Dark Rift can be seen to begin or alternately end immediately above the stars of Scorpius is telling, especially since it is the scorpion that appears immediately beneath the horizon on Gobekle Tepe's Pillar 43. That's the point I was making earlier.
Yeah, that's complicated.
Not really. I don't think it is.
Does this picture I'm showing make sense to you?
Yeah. Let me see. Not that one. There's better pictures out there.
Look at this one.
That was a good one.
The layout of the Great Rift constellations as represented by the Inca. So here's their serpent. And then here's the snake. And I was trying to see. Sapo.
There was a really great one I had found, but it was on my fucking iPad, of course.
What's wrong with your iPad?
I just don't have it. It's in the other room.
So I guess this is what it is. These clouds are the Great Rift.
Yeah, the Great Rift is just that let's see.
Oh yeah, because the path of the sun passed through Scorpius and then another part of the Great Rift. So like that time of the year when the sun, in the solstice and the summer and winter solstice, the sun lined up in a certain part of the Great Rift. Yeah, I don't know. That it was hard for me to wrap my head around that stuff because I need a good picture to see. So I'm reading the book and trying to create the image in my head.
I know. I had found great pictures. That's why it was easier for me to understand. And that's why I want to try and find them so you could see them so that you can understand it a little easier. And then we can describe this a little bit better together.
Well, if it's in the other room, right? It's not like your iPad broke. Like it's just over there, right?
Yeah, I don't know if I left the sites open on it though. Like I was doing my research on the fucking iPad. I just didn't. I don't know. I didn't save it in a note or anything like that. It was just like open in Safari. I don't know if I closed it or what. Here, let me share my screen. So this was the Great Rift right here.
Mm-hmm.
A little dusty section.
Man, I wish we could see that at night. That's got to be freaking amazing. That's what we need in that logo behind you is the Great Rift.
Right.
And then that cat will be like in the center of the bifurcation.
So then you have this. This was a good. I know you showed this one just now, but this was a good one because it shows where Deneb is at. And you have the Great Rift is right here, right? That black area in the middle of all these stars. So Deneb kind of is in the middle of it all. And then you have the summer triangle with Vega at the top and Altair at the bottom. Let's see.
Is Altair the main star of Sagittarius?
I don't know the answer to that question, to be honest with you.
We talked about it in the last episode, so all these episodes kind of connect. Birds such as swans, geese, eagles, and vultures are symbols of the afterlife.
Yeah, you can keep reading from that chapter while I go through these. See if I can find from the.
It is likely,
images.
Therefore, that the pre-pottery Neolithic peoples of Anatolia and the Near East viewed the Dark Rift in a similar manner, seeing it as a darkened road to the sky world, because the constellation that they signified by the vulture, its main star Deneb, is in the Great Rift, and you're sharing that right now.
Here we go. This is what I was looking for.
So if you go to the vulture, you're basically, if your soul goes to the vulture, to the afterlife through the celestial sphere, then to Cygnus, you're basically also going to the Dark Rift. So in a way, they're one and the same as far as the significant part of the sky your soul is going towards. That's what I'm gathering. And Deneb just happens to be an actual point there for them to fucking, worship.
Yeah. Deneb was very just prominent. You could see it very well. And it was like the entrance to this great rift, to this highway in the sky to the celestial North Pole at the time. And then the Great Rift here, you can see the small, I guess that's the small Sagittarius star cloud, large Sagittarius star cloud. So you see Sagittarius in this one right here.
Teapot, Altair.
Let me put the Mac up real quick because it's about to die.
Where is Sagittarius?
Right down here. Do you see where mouse is at?
Yeah.
Give me 1 second.
The fact that the dark rift can be seen to begin or end immediately above the stars of Scorpius is telling indeed, especially since it is the scorpion that appears immediately beneath the horizon. So the horizon on Pillar 43, that horizontal line, apparently represents the dark rift as well. Very likely, and the Scorpius was below the dark rift, just like it is in the sky, and represents the underworld. Wow, it's like the deeper you go, the more it still connects. Very likely, the Scorpius constellation was seen as a threat to the soul on its journey to the afterlife. Yeah. Especially as it sought to join the Milky Way. It is in the same vicinity. That's what I was talking about earlier. It's in the same vicinity that the sun crosses the starry stream in only one of two places in the sky, the other being in the vicinity of the constellations of Taurus, Gemini, and Orion on the opposite side of the sky. The importance of this synchronization between the sun and the Milky Way meant that at certain times of the year, most obviously at the summer or winter solstice, the Milky Way would have been seen to rise up into the sky from the same position where the sun had either just set or was about to rise. So the sun and the Milky Way, the destination your soul goes to, Deneb, Cygnus, all this comes together at this time. This is something that would have been interpreted as a moment when the souls of either the departed or those of shamans were able to make the transition from the physical environment to the place of the afterlife, which makes a lot of sense why the worship of the sun during the solstices is a thing, because it's not just the lining up of things, it's the lining up of the path of your soul. So the shamans are waiting on this. They get their drugs going. They're in there.
They basically go near death, but yeah
they send their soul through this path. So
and
cool.
This one makes a lot of sense too. So like you have, so Deneb is like way up here in the top left corner, right? That's like the main thing. And then I guess this would be the road to the afterlife, right? This highway, the Great Rift. You have Scorpius down here in the bottom, or maybe the soul rises from Scorpius and heads to Deneb, basically, right? I guess that's the journey. And Scorpius would represent the scorpion at the bottom of Pillar 43.
It's got to get past the scorpion, right?
Right. And then you have Sagittarius.
I think it also connects because the only
Sagittarius, and then so Sagittarius could be that bird, right, on Pillar 43. So you have the scorpion, you have Sagittarius right here. And the soul rising through, I guess, the celestial North Pole. I don't know. It makes a little bit of sense to me.
Mm. But when all this lines up, the Scorpius is so complicated. I don't even know how to say what I was going to say. Scorpius is below the horizon when all of this lines up. So at the time when you can send your soul through this path to Deneb, you can only do it when the scorpion is below the horizon. So it's a critical player in the process. And I think that's why it's inherent that the scorpion possesses some kind of threat, because you have to do it when it's below the horizon. You can't do this ritual at other times of the year because the scorpion is like above the horizon. You know what I'm saying? It's at this time where it's below the horizon. So it's like now the scorpion's in the underworld.
That makes
now
sense.
We can go.
That makes total sense.
And if you look at that picture that you just shared, the scorpion, like the dark rift is vertical. I was thinking it was like this, but it's actually
horizontal.
horizontal. And then
It's
below,
more vertical than horizontal.
like down at the tip is where Scorpius is. So I think maybe when it's like below that whole thing is when you can make your way.
I mean, just imagine seeing that in the sky at night with no artificial lights anywhere around you.
Dude, it's got to be mind-blowing.
Like in the mountains somewhere in Turkey, like in ancient fucking times. Like I'm sure it was like psychedelic looking every night, looking into that.
Dude,
so
33 years on this earth, and I still haven't seen the
Milky
fucking
Way.
Yeah. It's got the most amazing thing to ever see. The whole, all of space, dude. You see it.
I mean, he talks about it in this book, you know, for a period of 3,000 years or arguably more, the turning point of the heavens had corresponded very approximately with the northern opening of the Milky Way's dark rift, a very symbolic connection that once every night enabled the Milky Way to rise up vertically to synchronize with the north-south meridian. This would have been quite a magnificent sight that cannot have failed to instill awe in the beholder. So just imagine that fucking dark rift coming up like vertically in the sky.
Yeah. Every day, right? Because the earth
Right.
is just spinning. Every day it's just interesting, man. Interesting. After this time, so yeah, this talks about all the different poles. Did you read that just now?
No, I did not. I read right before that. Go ahead.
There is a second very good reason why the soul might have had to journey first to Cygnus before traveling on to the northern celestial pole, where it would enter the afterlife. So I think I mixed that up. It goes to the constellation first, then through the northern celestial pole. Although in 9600 BCE, the pole was located in the constellation of Hercules, that was when they built Gobekle Tepe. Some 3,000 years earlier, it was moving through the constellation of Cygnus from circa 15,750 to 12,750 BCE. 3 Cygnus stars, Deneb, Setter, and Rook, had all acted as pole stars as the northern celestial pole across the Milky Way.
And I read this part already.
For a period of 3,000 years.
I read that part.
Right. I'm just going to wrap it up.
That.
Yeah, I know. I'm just going to wrap it up because the beginning part was more information. And I want to understand it. The turning point had corresponded approximately with the northern opening with the Milky Way's dark rift. So it wasn't using Deneb, Saturn, and Rook anymore after 3,000 years. When they built Gobekle Tepe, the dark rift was where the pole was spinning. Is that correct? Is that what you got?
No. So for a period of 3,000 years, it's saying that for 3,000 years, I think before the construction of Gobekle Tepe, the turning point was around the stars of Deneb, Sator, or Rook. And that's where the opening of the dark rift is. And that's where the northern celestial pole would have been.
Okay. Yeah, so if you show that graphic again with Deneb. No. False. Interesting. After this time, the northern celestial pole passed first into the constellation of Lyra, where the bright star Vega became the pole star for around 1,000 years, 12,000 to 11,000 BCE. Thereafter, the celestial pole moved into the constellation of Hercules, the Greek hero that the ancient sources said came up against the 3 Stymphalian birds, personified in the sky as Cygnus, Aquila, and Lyra. Dude, this stuff is crazy deep, right?
Yeah.
It seems like if they're just hunter-gatherers that are making stuff up, it wouldn't go that
deep. They're just observing the sky every night, like, and writing a story about it, right? It's like star poetry.
But like math, like it all connects, and
yeah, for sure.
It's not like it's made up and there's just holes everywhere.
This is all based on the wobble of the Earth's axis, the precession of the equinoxes.
That's the other thing to me that I'm thinking when I'm reading all this about the different stars that the pole, the celestial sphere was revolving around. It's because the pole is always in motion.
Yeah, there's always a new northern celestial pole.
Like it's
the precession
it's
of the equinoxes, the Earth, the actual wobble.
I know, but it doesn't change like a clock, like click. There's thousands of years where it's in between.
Yeah.
So ours has been Polaris for a long time, but it can't be as perfect as it was anymore. It's got to be offset, right?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? It's constantly moving. So it's like accurate, but not accurate. Because
right.
Well, it was 1,000 years ago, Polaris was our North Star as well. But like now we're 1,000 years off. Do you know what I'm saying?
A little bit, for sure.
Yeah, so that's the weird part to me when I think about North Stars and astronomical alignments. So we're constantly moving. So how accurate is it? I don't even know if that's the right question, but you get what I'm saying.
Right. I get what you're saying. So like, in this regard, they're tracking. They're basically, these ancient cultures are tracking where the northern celestial pole is at and writing stories about these constellations and making up these heroes that fight each other off. And this is the story of Hercules that fought off these birds that were personified by these constellations in the sky during the 6th of his 12 labors, it says. And then whenever the Gobekle Tepe was built in 9600 BCE, Hercules was still the northern celestial pole. And it says that both Cygnus and Lyra, the two most recent former locations of the northern celestial pole, were both seen in Greek Hellenic astronomy as celestial vultures and enemies of Hercules, is telling indeed, suggesting that in this story, the memory of how first Cygnus and the Lyra were forced to relinquish control of celestial pole to Hercules. So Hercules, I guess, slaying or, commandeering control of the northern celestial pole from these constellations, basically.
It goes into how
wild
vultures would pick apart the dead bodies. They would leave them on the wooden platforms.
Man, they had a really metal process, a defleshing process called excarnation.
Like heavy metal?
Yeah, I'm going to name like a metal band, Excarnation.
Yeah, dude, come on, man. Yeah.
Excarnation.
That's going to be the name of our EP, the Excarnation EP.
Anyway, yeah. So, yeah, they that whole part is about sky burials and how they use sky burials in the pre-pottery Neolithic age from 9600 to 6000 BCE. And they were often left out on wooden platforms, and the vultures swooped down to pick the meat clean. And that's the reason why vultures appear in the relief art in places like Gobekle Tepe, Navali Kori, and Katahoyuk.
Pretty crazy. How sophisticated astronomy and sophisticated this and all that. But in actual practice, they were just letting vultures eat dead bodies and then carving skulls.
It's like, and showing the journey of the process into the Great Rift.
Dude, can you imagine sitting under the Milky Way, high on drugs, you and this tribe, just with a dead body, and you're just sawing the head off around like a fire?
I don't want to, but
dude, sure. That is freaking trippy. Man, that's got to be a powerful experience. Like a dead body just getting picked away.
Yeah,
just out
good
in the wilderness. Dude, that's gotta be so trippy. I bet it's easy to believe in all this stuff when you're living like that, because that experience is intense. How could you not believe in your soul going into the dark rift when you're on drugs and like the sun is lining up and it's this huge special time, and it's just the Milky Way in the sky is crazy to fit all of that space, literal space, into one frame and see it zoomed out like that is wild. But it's in real life. It's not wild. It's not like some crazy HD PDF you got to buy for $5,000 and have technology. You just have to have no streetlights and then go out and you can see the most magnificent shit. That is so mind-blowing. Nature.
Yeah, we still haven't seen it, right? That's what's the mind-blowing part. It's just right. It's right there.
This was an interesting little tidbit it threw in there when it kind of wrapped up talking about the flight of the shaman and how this is really all probably just shamanistic ritual practices of It said many such traditions were observed and recorded by European anthropologists and ethnographers prior to the Russian Revolution of 1917. Thereafter, these age-old traditions went underground and did not reemerge until after the fall of Soviet Russia at the end of the 1980s.
I picked that up too. I was wondering, why did it go underground?
So random. Since then, they have undergone a complete revival, even though sadly a lot of what was known to the ancestors of present-day shamans is now lost. What I gathered from that statement was before 1917 and the Russian Revolution, we knew a lot about these rituals. And then after 1918. No, it says 80. At the end of the 1980s, after the fall of Soviet Russia, it reemerged. So, like, I'm trying to understand what that meant. It seems like we had all the information, and then the Russian Revolution of 1917 happened, and it all went underground. And then when it reemerged, it was like a different version.
Like a burning of that Library of Alexandria.
Yeah, like they did it over like 63 years of. That's what that statement seems like to me. It's so random. It just comes out of nowhere. And then that's it. It goes right on to most likely many of these shamanistic practices reflect rites and rituals that occurred at Gobekle Tepe as much as 11,500 years ago. It doesn't mention anything else about Russia and how any of that makes sense. So freaking random, dude.
Yeah, it is.
Cryptic too, you know?
Yeah, what happened? Anyway. So we go on, and it's eventually going to get to the death of, or the end of Gobekle Tepe here. So sad. But about the shaman. So it says that normally a shaman works alone, his or her skills and expertise being called upon either by an individual or a community as a whole when required, whether this be for healing, spirit communication, cursing, counter psychic attack, or abating a natural disaster. Yet at Gobekle Tepe, we see something else. Here, unquestionably, shamans worked together as a group to conduct rituals at one or another of the various enclosures operational at any one time. Very clear here we see the formation of what can only be described as a formalized priesthood, arguably one of the oldest anywhere in the world, with full control over the local population, including its psychological and spiritual well-being.
That's wild.
I thought that part was interesting because it's like, all right, now we're talking about the elites, right? Yeah. And then the creation of an elite class, essentially.
Yeah. That is crazy.
What can the original Illuminati, if you will.
Yeah.
The shaman population.
Exactly. We see here the formation of what can only be described as a formalized priesthood, arguably one of the oldest in the world, with full control over local population. That is crazy, man.
Wow, shit.
That's crazy, man. Wow. And then as time goes on, megaliths and all of that become worse and worse, like the design, as society gets more distant from the original source of information, and like how distant we are now, the world of propaganda and lies and manipulation that we live in now, where you know what I'm saying? Like, it still kind of makes sense. It still kind of connects back.
There's definitely surely an elite class now that controls the information being fed to the population, for sure.
Yeah, including its psychological and spiritual well-being. I mean, come on, dude. The news totally, right when the news tells everybody to protest, they go and do it. Like, they've got it. They've got that. Yeah, they've got it right in their minds. Like, everyone reacts.
Just human nature, I guess.
Yeah, like, if the news is talking about gas prices and how it's Joe Biden's fault, you see a lot of videos coming out on Twitter and TikTok about people. Let me explain how gas prices work, because everyone blaming Biden. It's like you see it just trickle through society. It starts always in the same place, dude. CNN and just across the news, and it trickles into society, and it has like this 2-week cycle, and then the next one, and no one ever catches on. They just like dogs. They just keep responding to the stimulus, never knowing. That's so wild to be able to track this all back to Gobekle Tepe and the first,
or just the nature of humans. These hierarchies, systems that are put in place in societies, regardless of like where there's the earliest ancient civilizations or the modern ones we have today.
Yeah. The world, it says the world was now a different place, and with the coming of the Neolithic Revolution and the fear of further cataclysms gradually receding, the function of cult centers like Gobekle Tepe started to change. No longer were they oriented toward the stars of Cygnus and the Milky Way. Instead, the enclosures, which started to become much simpler in design, were turned toward the rising sun at the time of either the equinoxes or the solstices. So still kind of the same thing, just not specifically Cygnus and the vultures.
What happened was the Neolithic Revolution, right? So they had the Younger Dryas impact, which, you know, all these shamans came in and they're like, we're gonna be able to predict the next cataclysm. So the cult, the skull cult, was centered around that, you know, at the time. And then they had to come up with things like animal husbandry, agriculture, and things like that in order to build these big cult centers like Gobekle Tepe and so on and so forth. Time passes, so it becomes less of a priority for them to like focus on common impacts and this cataclysmic event that could occur. And then they now need to worry about feeding these huge populaces that they've built up at these big urban centers at the time. So what's more useful for them to worship and focus on? Well, obviously the coming of the growing seasons and the rain seasons and things like that. So then they start worshiping the sun and focusing on the winter and the summer equinoxes and solstices, right? Because that's representative of when the seasons are changing. And ultimately, where they're going to be able to provide for the people in these urban centers with animal husbandry and agriculture at the time. So the focus just shifted, right? They still use the cosmos to guide them, but in a different manner.
And accidentally, they're still lined up with all of the original stuff, because the sun during the winter, summer solstice is still lined up with the dark rift and Cygnus. It's still like lining up in that way. So they're not, it's not symbolically the same thing, but it's still like the same alignments all the way through.
Yeah, so they start worshiping the sun, the death and rebirth of the sun across its yearly cycle.
So after a long time, 8000 BCE, Gobekle Tepe was abandoned. The site's remaining enclosures were buried beneath hundreds of tons of stone chippings, imported earth, and human refuse. That was one of the big things about Gobekle Tepe, was that, according to Klaus Schmidt, the guy who originally
found it.
Yeah. Oh, he found it. Okay. So,
or something like that.
It was deliberately buried, which is very interesting. So that must have been around 8000 BCE. Those communities that had maintained the site for some 1600 years now either migrated into other parts of Anatolia and the Near East, or turned their attentions to new cult centers, one of which was almost certainly Tel Idris, close to Haran. Haran was the Sabians who worshipped Polaris and the North Star. We need to do an episode on that, because that was a section of the last chapter and we didn't go over much, but that's a whole episode. So we need to look into the Chaldeans and the Sabians and Haran and that whole Polaris North Star cult for an episode.
All right.
But that's basically where Gobekle Tepe went next, was Haran, some 45 kilometers southeast of Gobekle Tepe. Here, the cultic traditions continued across the millennia until finally they were embraced by the Chaldeans or Sabians, whose descendants lived in the city of Haran through until medieval times. Wow, dude, huh?
Right.
That's crazy. Medieval times. Because medieval to me is like Roman stuff. So to see the crossover of this ancient biblical Jericho, Gobekle Tepe, stuff lapping over into medieval Roman times, that's interesting. It makes it feel so much closer. Does that make sense?
It is so much closer. Yeah. Medieval times are.
Who were the first shamans of Gobekle Tepe? Why were they seen as having mastery over comets and cosmic catastrophes? And where exactly did they come from? As we will see next, there is every reason to suspect that the builders of Gobekle Tepe came not from the south in the Levant, but from the north in what is today Ukraine and Russia. And I guess that's because when you go back to 12, 15,000 years ago, before the Younger Dryas impact, which put society under They re-emerged 9600 BCE and made Gobekle Tepe. That was the remnants of what existed before. So
the Epigravetians. We'll get into that.
Okay. The what?
Epigravetians.
Epigravetians. Okay. Right on. So as we move forward, I think I don't even know what's next. I think we should talk about the bone plaque next, that long article, and maybe finish the Martin Sweatman videos and look into the Chaldeans. Or do you think we should go into chapter 4?
I already read chapter 4, so I mean it's up to you. I read chapter 4 and 5 already. Whatever you want to do.
Okay, right on. So this kind of gets out of Gobekle Tepe chapter 4, right?
Yeah, definitely does.
Okay, so I think we should do the bone plaque. We should finish up Martin Sweatman's videos, and then that's 2 episodes there. Maybe the Chaldeans for a 3rd episode. And then we should move forward. What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. How about
so the bone plaque?
Yeah, maybe we should do Martin Sweatman's videos.
All right, I started watching more of those too.
Yeah, let's just do those, and then maybe we'll add the bone plaque.
Yeah, Martin Sweatman does some deep diving on Gobekle Tepe, so that's cool.
Okay, so maybe, yeah, let's just go with the Martin Sweatman videos, and we can do that one. Fuck, I'll be in Lafayette next week, so yeah, we'll do this episode next. Whatever.
We can do it next week when you're here
in studio. Should I bring my microphone and shit?
If it's not a hassle, if it takes up too much room, don't worry about it.
No, it's not. I'll bring it just in case we can swing something.
All right.
That'd be cool. Set up the mics in studio, and maybe we can just bullshit an episode and do a fun one.
That would be cool.
I got some complaining that I want to do about the system. So maybe we can have a complain about the system episode.
Sounds good to me.
We'll figure it out. I kind of want to do the Martin Sweatman videos, though. That would be fun.
Well, I already started watching them, so I'm down with that, too.
Okay. Let's do that, then.
Cool. I just need to take some screenshots and notes and shit. But yeah. All right, cool.
All right, bro. Awesome episode.
All right, man.
So y'all got a show. If you're in Lafayette hearing this, the 29th, Festival International, I'm going to be there.
Green Room.
If you're in Denver, Alfred has a show. I think it's going to be at Lion's Lair. May 29th, June 29th. And yeah, still waiting on the jam tape to come out. So not a lot of updates. Just life as normal and a new podcast episode. Check out our bands.
Podcast episode. Grinding away, bro.
Yep. Grinding away. Got that beautiful new logo. I never heard back from the guy that I messaged though. So I think he just decided
he said fuck it.
Yeah, which is fine because this cat's pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah, cat works, bro.
Right?
It's free.
Pretty
and
sweet.
It's free.
Oh, it was not free.
Oh, how much I owe you?
Nothing. What did I pay? I just paid 30.
All right, I'll shoot you.
I got
15.
the PNG. Well, I got money from the podcast, like that could cover it. So
all right, then cool. Just do that.
Pretty sweet, right? Podcast bought us new artwork, right?
That's when it's self-sufficient, that feels good.
Well, like almost. We had like, I don't want to say numbers, not that it's much, but just on principle. But yeah, it's basically take the money from the business and put it back in the business.
That's
right?
it. That's what you got to do, bro.
Fuck yeah.
That's what we do. Go gothing and shit, you know.
In another 2 years, we'll be able to get another logo.
Awesome.
You just got to keep grinding.
Grinding away, bro.
That's awesome. Good episode, man. Give your family a hug for me. Can't wait to see y'all next week.
All right, man. I'm excited.
Me too, man. I can't wait to just get on the road with like a coffee and a podcast. That's what I look forward to.
I love that shit. That's my favorite. I'm a road trip person.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, like arriving is great, but it's like, fuck.
The trip is the best, actually.
Yeah.
driving, looking at scenery, podcast, coffee. Oh,
yeah,
it's
man.
fucking perfect, man.
Stopping for some food and stretching.
Dude, it's the best.
Yeah. Yeah. Not pooping the whole time because you don't trust public bathrooms, but just eating junk
pooping
food.
when you absolutely only need to.
Yeah, when you absolutely need to.
Sometimes you just can't help it.
Yeah, we're going from here, we're going to Oklahoma. And I'm going to get to see why.
Whatever. Oklahoma's bad about weed and shit.
Oh, yeah, right. So, fucking, I don't smoke that. I don't drive with that.
All right.
Yeah, so we're going to go to a hotel and have dinner with my grandparents, and then breakfast with my grandparents. That's my favorite. There's this breakfast joint that we went to last time, so we're going to go again.
You love breakfast, huh?
I love going to eat, man. Like in high school and college and stuff, like I was just like, who wants to go eat somewhere right now?
It's like an event.
Yeah. Like you want to go to Taco Bell? Like, yeah, let's go. Like fucking let's go. Taco Bell. So
I remember
fun.
that. We used to do that in Death of Skepsis.
Yeah, man.
We'll go to the Rice Palace.
Oh, yes. That was the best, dude. The worst was when nobody wanted to go after practice. Like, fuck.
Oh, man. We're not going to the Rice Palace today and get the buffet.
Like, nobody wants to go. Nobody wants to do nothing. Nah, I got to go. I got homework. Jesse? Nah, I got to get home. Steve? Fuck. Nobody wants to go. Fuck.
That's the greatest, man. Good old Crowley practices. I remember those days.
I can't wait, man. I've been on a chai tea kick lately, too. I've been drinking some chai tea.
You have to make some chai tea for me when you're here, bro.
Bro, I don't know how to make it. Yeah. Like I can't promise nothing. We'll just go to Starbucks and get it.
All right. Sounds good.
Maybe we'll go to an Indian restaurant and get some chai, see what they're doing.
Yeah. Don't they do chai shit? Fuck.
I don't want to be racist, but masala chai.
No, we're going to Masala Indian. Yeah.
Very
good Indian food.
Yeah. But, sorry, I was hungover yesterday.
Oh, dude, it's good, man.
I threw up, dude. I had to go to
the
dog park to show my client her dog. She missed it. So I was just like, let's meet at the dog. I was hungover. I had to like wake up and just muscle through. And I got there and I was so nauseated, but I was doing it. I walked back to my car after we said bye. And I was like, I got to. And just started throwing up. It was not good. No way I was going to podcast.
I understand, bro.
I didn't even drink that much. I was just kind of dehydrated. I didn't drink a lot at work. Like I drank a bottle of water in 5 hours at work. Damn. And then in 20 minutes after work, I drank the same volume of alcohol in like 20 minutes. So that's just where my body was. And it just like...
it said, fuck this.
Yeah, I had a Jameson neat and a Bud Light and then like another half a beer. It didn't go down smooth. That's how I felt. When it doesn't go down smooth and you tap out like mid-beer, you're fucked.
Yeah, you're going to be sick.
Yeah. So, yesterday was awesome. But all right, man.
Well, hey, man, we got it done today. It's all good.
Yeah. I'll see you next week.
See you next week, dude. Excited.
Yeah, me too,
Later.
man. Later.